2022 Ford Maverick Hybrid MPG and Suspension Deep Dive 39 mpg and 1 twist beam. Half and half doesn't simply improve mileage, it has an alternate back suspension, as well. I don't think I've at any point been drawn nearer more excitedly at a service station. No under 3 bystanders meandered up while I was monitoring the spout stuck into the side of this 2022 Ford Maverick. Their wide looked at questions including, is that the new mixture? What sort of mileage do you get? Is it all-wheel drive? It is the new crossover, I said, however timidly needed to concede I didn't yet know the MPG in light of the fact that I was giving the tank a fast top-up so I could reset the excursion odometer and record how it'd do over the coming week. I'd have said, noteworthy as damnation, on the off chance that they had meandered up after I'd finished 311.1 miles of driving. The 7.91 gallons I added toward the completion worked out to 39.3 mpg, a figure that annihilates the truck's EPA-joined rating of 37 mpg. It improves. City driving is the place where half and halves truly sparkle, and to be sure the Maverick's appraising stalls to 42 mpg city and 33 mpg throughway. Any EPA consolidated rating is a weighted normal that expects 55% of the mileage will be city driving and 45% will be interstate, so it's doubly stunning that I recorded a 39.3 mpg normal with a driving blend that included completely 80% throughway driving at 70 miles per hour. What does this have to do with a suspension profound jump? More than you might suspect. To answer that bystander's all-wheel drive question, no, this Maverick half and half doesn't have it. Truth be told, each half-breed is front-wheel drive and that is not all. Passage didn't simply preclude the back drive axles in a differential for the half-breed, it has something else altogether suspension design than the all-wheel drive models that come solely with the 2.0-liter Super 4, as well as the other way around. My Cyber Orange machine was stacked for maybe 4 or 5 of those miles. I helped a companion destroy a Career Expo stall and take around 400 to 450 pounds of stuff back to his shop, where he let me shoot these photographs. The truck carried this heap honorably, with nary a trace of list. I was intrigued with the smooth and calm way it sucked up Michigan-level ice hurls when it was unfilled, as well. Considering the value point and eco-friendliness of this machine, they've tuned this suspension very well. There's nothing weighty happening front and center. It's a not unexpected swagger arrangement that looks basically the same as what supports the Ford Bronco Sport we took a gander at a couple of months prior. Likewise with the Bronco Sport, the main part of the crossover-mounted half-breed powertrain, green bolt, is situated somewhat in front of the front hub. This joint, green, is one of a few spots where the suspension subframe bolts to the unibody. The aluminum lower wishbone needs no bolt since it contrasts the foundation. However, the conservative idea of the steel directing knuckle, red, is not entirely obvious on the grounds that it mixes away from plain sight. The lower control arm utilizes a converse L-shaped configuration, so named in light of the fact that while side-long cornering loads, green, feed in straightforwardly to the case through its solid forward bushing, the longitudinal part of brutal ride inputs get turned through 90 degrees and push in at the more voluminous back, red. Bushing. You may hear engineers allude to the ride bushing in a given suspension, and in an opposite L-arm swagger format like this present, it's the one toward the back. Practically every crossover front drive arrangement I am aware of spots the main part of the motor and transmission gathering in front of the front hub, and that implies the controlling rack, green, can just fit behind it and work behind the guiding hub in what is known as a back steer direction. The stabilizer bar, green, ranges the Maverick behind the motor, too, which is the reason we see its associating joint darted to a tab welding on the back of the swagger lodging. This sort of swagger mounting is known as an immediate mount, in that the stabilizer bar connect goes here and there in lock venture with the wheel, adding up to a 1-to-1 movement proportion. The fundamental driver of half-breed eco-friendliness, particularly in the city, boils down to attractive regenerative slowing down by means of the electric engine/generator that is covered in the crossbreed transmission lodging. The capacity to recuperate slowing down energy along these lines and change it into power for the battery is basically what makes a half-breed work. This activity is as yet set off by the brake pedal, however a PC chooses whether attractive regenerative slowing down or customary contact slowing down will be adequate for your brake input, then, at that point, acts in like manner. All things considered, this single-cylinder caliper and ventilated rotor are measured as though they're the sole slowing mechanism, however they will not see standard utilize except if you're prone to hold back and pounding the brakes. The most ideal method for increasing your MPG in a mixture is to look forward, expect stoppages, and brake progressively so you recuperate however much of the slowing down energy as could be expected. Truth be told, the Maverick crossover's scramble has a meter that springs up to give you moment criticism to assist you with realizing where that edge lies. Give close consideration and you will not simply up your MPG, you may very well get 100,000 miles out of these brake cushions, as well. This general view doesn't uncover much with regards to the Maverick crossover's back suspension past the point that it's very straightforward. Presently we can recognize this as a wind bar back suspension, a straightforward and cheap semi-free suspension type worked around a vehicle crossing shaft, red, that stretches under the vehicle to the opposite side. Why semi-autonomous? The left and right wheels are both immovably joined to the finishes of a similar huge U-molded steel structure, yet that design is wide sufficient that it turns in the center and permits some autonomous development. The bent pillar structure bolts to the frame and turns around a solitary point, green, on each side, and the main thing holding the spring back from dropping out it. Full hang is the interior end stop incorporated into the back safeguard, white. Here is a superior glance at the size of the bar, green, that ranges across the truck. Envision a bike swing arm that is more than 4 feet wide with wheels outwardly of every leg rather than one caught in the center. Or on the other hand consider it a monster stabilizer bar with wheels on the finishes, which is fundamentally how it capacities. The winding firmness of the curved pillar itself is tuned and enhanced during improvement by the fitment of a supplemental stabilizer bar, green, that is tucked inside the bar's open cross segment. That supplemental stabilizer bar, green, is welded set up, and since the wheels are rushed to ribs welded to the shaft closes, the roll firmness movement proportion must be 1-to-1. The wind pillar is, all things considered, one major piece. Concerning the spring's movement proportion, the spring pocket seems to be somewhat in front of the pivot of the actual wheel, so we'll call it 0.9 to 1. In the interim, the shock is darted in the driver's seat bearing and center point, so it will really move more than the wheel over a given knock in what seems to be a 1.2 to 1 movement proportion. The issue with curved shaft suspensions is they can deliver back toe out as the external back suspension packs and gets presented to sidelong loads something awful. For the external back tire to do in a broad twist, the circumstance is intricate on the grounds that you'd need a firm bushing to limit toe changes in such conditions. Yet a delicate one to absorb ride brutality. One of the ways of combating this is to slant the turn bushing pocket, green, outwards toward the front. Here the internal essence of the bushing, green, leans against the ostensibly inclined bushing pocket, which makes a slope that gives the mounting point sidelong and forward help when exposed to cornering powers. However, the contrary side, red, is more open, with the goal that the bushing can beat back and assimilate the unforgiving aft part of street impacts. It's noticeably flawed, however it makes a difference. All things considered, this one clashing attribute characterizes the constraints of bent pillar suspensions, which is the reason you will not see it on anything a lot bigger and heavier than a Maverick. Yet, they are light, economical, space proficient and simple to introduce on the mechanical production system, which is the reason it's been utilized here on the minimal expense, front-wheel drive Maverick crossbreed. This view gives you an inside check out every one of the different sections that are welded to the bent bar, and we can see the spine, green, to which the caliper and wheel bearing are blasted. The upper finish of the safeguard is rushed to the unibody bed structure from inside the wheel well, which is the reason the inward surface of the bed needs no entrance boards. The back suspension knock stop lives inside the dark plastic boot we see here. The Maverick half-breed is light sufficient that a strong brake rotor does the work, and its single-cylinder sliding caliper has an electric stopping brake actuator. Green, hanging off the back. In the interim, that large hunk of metal, red, has no suspension work at all. It's a towing secure point. The Ford Maverick Hybrid XLT rolls on 225/65R17 Continental Pro Contact TX tires mounted to 17 by 7-inch aluminum composite wheels, and the blend tips the scales at a clean 49 pounds. With respect to the all-wheel drive Maverick, which is certainly not a crossover, its back suspension ought to be basically the same as the Multilink we saw under the Bronco Sport, essentially in idea. With respect to the Maverick half-breed suspension we recently saw, its straightforwardness is nothing unexpected at all thinking about its super low base cost. What you can't see here, however, is the means by which well-tuned everything is. It might without a doubt be basic, however it simply works.